Some of you may know the works of Bubblegum Crisis or Gunsmith Cats, but how many of you have heard of or watched the OVA Riding Bean? This is another work by Sanada Kenichi, and I gotta say, watching this OVA for the first time was an experience. Our main character, Bean, yes, that is his actual name, is a guy who gets paid as a getaway driver for criminals. But what makes it even more fun is that he has a gadget-filled getaway car, which is super neat because, you know, it's kind of James Bondy, where he can like press a button and have it do something that a car would normally not do, like drive sideways. Police might be chasing him, but they don't realize that they really don't want to catch him. And this OVA came out during a time when CGI cars were not the standard for anime. So they're all hand-drawn cars and hand-drawn action sequences with those cars. This shit hits different. Now, the overall story of Riding Bean is that during one of his jobs, he ends up getting set up because the criminals that he helps are the same criminals who kidnapped this little girl for ransom money. Now, they have the ransom money, but now they've dumped the girl in Bean's car. So now people are after Bean, thinking that he's the one who kidnapped the little girl. And it's up to him to catch the real criminals and get the girl back to her father. It's a simple setup, but it works. And they really do a good job at making you hate the villain. She is just... ooh. She's not just a villain who's kidnapping children, she's also a manipulative lesbian pedophile. I know it sounds like maybe I'm exaggerating, but she is in fact a pedophile who has a young girl who I assume she might have also kidnapped or groomed to be a part of this whole gang. Clearly does not love her, right? Clearly just using her for her own means. And I actually really like the raw nature of how they portray her relationship with this child. It's very different than what you would see in a modern anime, where it's just kind of, you know, pedophilia just kind of played up for laughs, because it's a kind of dark subject, and maybe in a way Japan likes to lighten the mood so that we don't have to deal with like the dark nature of these types of things. But I think in a lot of these older OVAs, they were a little bit more open to showcasing just how dark some of these topics can be. So we actually have this good scene where we have the father captive by the villain, and the little girl is taking care of him. And she actually comes on to the father who's being held captive. She's like acting as though she's like a seductress, but in actuality she's just a child, and he doesn't see her that way.
君ね。
大丈夫。私うまいのよ。セマもいつも褒めてくれるわ。
やめろ。ああ、すまん。
何すんのさ。親切でしてやったのに切り落としてやってもいいんだよ。
女の子のすることじゃないよ。
And I kind of like that there's this wall between him and her. He's not turned on by her or anything. He's just like disgusted and disturbed to see a child acting like this, because children don't normally act like this. This was trained into her, and it's not until the villain walks into the room that he understands why she's acting like this and what actually went wrong with this poor child.
人質相手にちょっとサービスが良すぎるんじゃないかしら。
やだ、見てた。
舐めてると承知しないわよ。この色がき。
やめろ。
お姉さんの言うこと何でも聞きます。ごめんなさい。
さあ出かけるよ。支度して。
貴様というやつは。
It's very grounded, as well as being, you know, a little disturbing to watch. But it works for the story, and it really makes you hate that villain. In fact, one of my only gripes with this OVA is that the villain does not die brutally enough. You know, it's one of those classic things where the villain makes a mistake and ends up dying by her own hand. Moving on, there are other issues with the OVA, and I wouldn't necessarily say that Riding Bean is a perfect movie by any means. The villain's plan is extremely convoluted for what it is, and Bean's character, maybe it could be a little more morally in line. Sure, he's not as bad as the badder bad guys, but he's more than willing to help people that would strip a girl naked and rob a store, firing a gun at her for no reason, really. He's more than willing to help those criminals for a price, which kind of goes to show maybe this guy is a little bit morally bankrupt. Ultimately, what makes you root for him is that they say that Bean wants to be a hero at heart, even though he's doing these bad things. Deep down inside, he'd rather be the good guy. And he is very upfront about not wanting to involve children in these criminal plots, and he doesn't like to work with any evil organization that uses kids as part of their schemes.
あんたには重大な欠点があった。ガキに甘いってこと。
So it does go to show you, okay, Bean, maybe he's not completely morally in line, but he has a soft side. And it's enough to get you through the OVA without completely hating the main character, even though he does some questionable things. Now, there is also some hints that there's something a little supernatural about Bean that makes him extra strong and durable. We do not get any explanation for that in this movie alone, but it's interesting enough so that you could watch this and be like, huh, I wonder if there was a series, how could that be expanded on? How could that be explained? Why he's so powerful? Which gets us into the main topic of this video, because we're not just here to review Riding Bean, we're actually here to talk about the rebooted version of Riding Bean, Bean Bandit, which is perhaps a little bit of a bittersweet tale of a sequel adaptation of the Riding Bean OVA. Years later. I'm talking 2020 this came out. And many of you have probably not seen it, because it is not an official anime adaptation. This was done via a Kickstarter by the creator of Riding Bean, which is admirable. I actually like it when creators take matters into their own hands to get the projects that they want to make created. Now, the stretch goal that he wanted to make it a 20-minute animation was 380,000, and the 45-minute version was supposed to be 800,000, which is totally fine so long as your shortest version still contains enough information in there so that it is enjoyable on its own. Especially if that is your initial goal, because you shouldn't punish backers for not reaching the highest of highest stretch goals. He managed to get a little over 23 million yen, which is $149,000. This is still a impressive amount of money to make, but it is a shoestring budget nonetheless. And you have to sort of readjust your expectations based on that shoestring budget. The total amount of time that was put in for the Bean Bandit episode was roughly 11 minutes, but only maybe 7.5 of those minutes were the actual episode, while as the last 4 minutes were dedicated towards the credits and thanking Kickstarter backers. Now, they've ended up fulfilling the project a little late, which I guess can also be expected for a lot of animation projects like these. And from what I've seen in the updates, it looks like they cycled through a couple different managers to try to successfully fulfill all of the backers. If someone backed this campaign and didn't receive their perk just because they didn't fill out their information, that's on them. That's not on the campaign creators. Speaking of which, if you back the Reaper campaign, you need to let me know what your address is. I cannot give you your book unless you give me your address. So, how was Bean Bandit? Well, if you're looking at the title and thumbnail of the video, I think you know that I did not have a positive experience watching this animated short. I would actually go as far to say that it was terrible. Terrible for reasons maybe you would not consider. It's very obvious where they are cutting corners, where they do not want to animate people talking. Very little establishing shots in places that should probably have establishing shots. There is nearly a full minute that goes by in this animated short where you can only see a CGI back of a car with someone having a conversation over the radio while we stare at the CGI back of a car. And what follows up this is then a panning shot of the tops of two cars while more characters talk to each other. No need to animate mouth movements because we're just looking at the top of the cars. We start off by just doing a highway chase scene. Most of the highway is not really shown. They usually are looking down so that you only see the road. Later on, there's some sort of headquarters, evil bad guy's base that two characters are infiltrating. We don't see an outside shot to let us know where we are in the world. We only see very close-up shots of the characters with a very generic looking background, but I get it because they're trying to cut as many corners as possible. But the scenes that do have some life in them, where we're actually focusing on the characters doing things, I think was handled fairly competently. It is not properly explained what is happening in the plot. Instead, things just kinda happen and you gotta make a lot of assumptions. Basic premise is that Bean and Rally have been given a new mission by this new character to do something. I don't know what. I don't know what they're doing. But they're doing something. They're being chased by these other goons. I don't know why. I don't know what exactly led up to the chase sequence. There's a police officer that was present in the OVA who makes a cameo, but he doesn't do anything. So he kind of just didn't need to be there. Or better yet, you could have had them being chased by the actual police instead of the goons. Over at the base, or whatever they call it in this short episode, we're introduced to another new character. Oh, she's undercover, but she's just out loud yelling all this stuff. Oh, I downloaded these files, but now I gotta go pee. I gotta find the bathroom. What files? What is she talking about? What are they trying to do? But yeah, then tragically, we have this really awkward sequence where this Glasses character is on the toilet peeing. And then some other guy just shows up, just teleports into the bathroom, opens her stall, and starts questioning her on the toilet. No reaction, no reaction. Why did you write it like that? And then eventually she shoots him, and then he falls into her naked lap after she peed a lot. This is stupid. Now, the other new character that's introduced that gives them this mission, Minnie May. Alright, so let's not beat around the bush. Becky and May are characters that were featured in Gunsmith Cats, but I'm not sure if they're included here because Riding Bean and Gunsmith Cats take place in the same universe, or if this is supposed to be a new take on the characters. I was under the impression that these are new versions of the characters because they are kind of portrayed differently. I mean, for example, Becky is not really the type of character to infiltrate a base alone and put herself in danger. May also acts kind of differently, and they made her a lolly, I guess. In Bean Bandit, she is way shorter than she was originally, and the creator tells us on the Kickstarter that she has the appearance of a young, innocent girl, but insists that she is 18, which sounds like they're implying that she's lying about that. They never make any jokes about her age in the Gunsmith Cats anime, so this gag is entirely new to me. And no, I didn't read the manga. Maybe in the manga they make a joke about her looking like a lolly? I don't know. They also have a bit in this short where she acts like a seductress? And obviously this is way weirder if the writer is saying she's supposed to look like a child.
やめろ
Now, of course, the original OVA also did talk about the subject of pedophilia and sexualizing children and how basically that stuff was bad. This animated short does the modern anime thing, which is to poke fun of this subject instead of handling it with the grounded rawness that the original had. And I will not say that they are bad people for choosing to go about this subject the modern way, but I don't like it. I really prefer how the original OVA handled this subject as opposed to this, which just turns it into a big joke. So there's a sequence in this short where Minnie May is trying to seduce one of the adult guards, successfully, I might add. So they're asking her to, like, turn around so that they can see if she has any weapons on her. And then she suggests, well, what if I show you what's underneath my clothes too? And then, like, the sleazy guard is like, heh, yeah, show me what's underneath your clothes, babe. To which then she takes off her underwear and throws it towards him in order to serve as a distraction while she kicks over some sort of gas bomb thing. And I just was not expecting this kind of goofy scene to be in an anime based off of this OVA where this topic was handled completely differently. It's really frustrating when you have the trailer for the Kickstarter and it's claiming that it's going to be more intense, more provocative, but instead it's just really goofy and juvenile. It's the complete opposite of what you're advertising.
More intense.
We cut back to Bean. I assume that he's in like a parking garage or something. He's out of his car and he gets run over by a car driven by the goons. And then we get more of that hint, that same hint that the original OVA had, that, he's very durable and strong, but we don't understand why. We cut off, we get the 4-minute credit scene, cut back to the piss lady for some reason, and end. That is it. That's the short episode. This sold me on there being a series much more than this new Kickstarter short did. Funny enough, the trailer includes animation that wasn't even used in the final product, which is weird because I would think that they would reuse this to be some sort of opening theme or something, but instead it just didn't get used at all. It got cut. This action sequence of Bean fighting hand to hand with a goon got cut, but the piss scene got left in. And look guys, it's not impossible to make a good animated short that's less than 10 minutes. There's a lot of great anime shorts that are only 5 minutes long, and they're great because they make great use of their time. The real issue is it's just hard. It's hard to limit your vision, and it's hard to pick which scenes are the best scenes to show people. And I think it really just comes down to priorities. Like, what they chose to prioritize in this animated short was just not there. But if you have to make it 5 minutes, you have to make those 5 minutes worth it. You have to prioritize the most important parts about the story that you want to tell. I cannot believe that they prioritized this lady taking a piss. There had to be other ways of filling the time in that would have been more interesting to watch as a viewer. Even if all they did was explain the mission and just have the rest of the episode be nothing but a drive fight sequence with Bean and these goons, I think that would have been better. But maybe the issue is that they wanted to introduce these new characters and have them take the spotlight, and the new characters just don't have anything interesting to do. One of them's taking a piss, the other one's taking off her panties. The most interesting characters in this short are the original characters, who are Bean and Rally. And I think if you had just focused on them more, you would have a much better chance of actually drumming up interest for a full-fledged series. Now, additionally, the designs have been modernized, but I will say the older designs for the characters are much more appealing, especially when it comes to Bean. And I'm not going to pretend that he looks good. I'm just not gonna happen. He looks weird. Especially now, there is actually a resurgence of people who are more interested in the old art styles of the 80s, 90s anime. So it is kind of just a misstep to try to redesign or modernize them for a modern anime audience. But as I said, it is a fine animated short for a low-budget production. If you go in expecting that, maybe you'll even be pleasantly surprised. If you want to watch the best version of this type of story, just watch the original Riding Bean OVA. It is very good. I have no hate towards the creator for giving it their all and doing this Kickstarter. I'm sure it was a very stressful experience to have to do an indie animated project, especially with such a small team and limited budget. But at least they did finish the project. A lot of people out there, you know, they don't even bother finishing their Kickstarter projects as soon as they get too hard. So all of these things considered, could have been worse, and I do not accept Bean Bandit as being canon in my Bean CU. But this is of course a great opportunity to talk about my own Kickstarter campaigns, particularly for Reaper Book 2. If you did not fulfill your address information, I cannot ship out your books. Make sure that you have done this. And if you missed the campaign for Reaper Book 2, you can still buy it. It is all available on burningstarcomics.net, as well as many other neat stories and keychains, stickers, posters. There is a link in the description. Go find something you like and help support indie creators. If there's anything I missed about this anime or this reboot that the creator did, please let me know down in the comment section. I would like to correct any wrong information. And if you have your own thoughts about the original OVA or this reboot and this whole situation that happened, also let me know, because I'd like to gauge what other people think about this idea of creators trying to do their own thing by making these Kickstarter campaigns for their own anime projects. Is this something that could work, or are we just gonna end up with more Bean Bandit situations where it's just terrible? As usual, guys, thank you for watching. Like the video if you did enjoy my ranting here. Subscribe if you'd like to see more from me. I talk a lot of things anime and comics and indie creations. Stay tuned, but until then, I'll see you next time, guys. Bye!
Program restart.